do that. We have a special guest this week on the pod, and it's Lance Schrock, and he's a credentialed Columbus Blue Jackets writer for Inside the Rink. Lance, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Sure, absolutely. And so Andrew Peeke was acquired by the Bruins. He's a defenseman who's been playing for the Blue Jackets. I guess just give us a take on what the Bruins fans can expect from Peeke.
Well, Peake's got the size to him. He's like 6'3", almost 200 pounds. And he's just really starting to get into his own and playing more physical, in my opinion. I mean, last 2 seasons, his hits have increased, and he's starting to play to his size. And he's a pretty talented skater. I'd say with the puck, maybe not quite as much. But I think that you guys have a good deal here. His contract's going to go through 2026. I think that he'll play that contract fine. I actually, when he was for the Blue Jackets this year, I thought maybe he should have gotten some more playing time. He's only got 23 games played so far this season. Been a log jam of players there for the Jackets, but he's got a decent shot. That's not his thing. He's not there to score goals. He's there to block. That's like one of his biggest strengths is blocking shots and getting hits.
So, what should why did he kind of fall out of favor in Columbus? Like, why wasn't he playing, within that logjam of guys where are they looking to get a little younger back there? Or, I mean, he's still kind of a young guy. So how did he kind of fall out of favor in Columbus?
That's a good question. I mean, he is younger, 25 years old. He will be 26 on Sunday.
Okay.
But there is, like I said, a logjam of players coming up. We got guys like David Jiricek, Stanislav Svozil, Denton Matejchuk coming up through the Cleveland Monsters and whatnot. So there's just a logjam. Also, recently, Blue Jackets acquired Provorov for this season. Ivan Provorov, Damon Severson gave them pretty big contracts, and that's just it. It's not that he fell out of favor, so to speak. It's just that in the last few years, that position has just been more available. There's been less competition, especially with last year. Blue Jackets, I think, had the most man games lost in entire NHL. Tons of injuries. And so he saw an 80-game season last year. So, yeah, like I said, it's a good question. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly the reason why. It's not that he was playing bad, just other people were playing better.
The Bruins do need some defensive help on the right side. They do need a little bit more, I guess. We've been talking about this on the pod. More nastiness, more, just face washes and scrums in front and protecting the goalies and a little more sandpaper to play against, that whole thing, and standing up for teammates and all of that. And all of the things that the Bruins opponents seem to have, the Bruins have been lacking in the last few years, especially in the defensive core, where they really try to push the puck. They're really focused on offensive skills and in the rush and that type of thing, and not getting back to the old days of guys like Kevin Miller and Adam McQuaid, and guys who would really be tough to play against. They'd fight you, they'd get in your face, they'd be nasty. So the Bruins really kind of need that. It sounds like Peeke isn't really that guy. He might be someone who's a little more physical than, say, a Brandon Carlo or that type of thing. The thing that really I don't love about it is the contract. Like, it's 2.75 for a guy who doesn't give you anything really offensively. But there is a little bit of a buyout, I guess, action there where they can buy out at like a third or something if they don't like him. But they must see something in him that has them take kind of a flyer where they took all the contract, from his contract. So I'm just sort of, he's only played 23 games, didn't play for a very good team with Columbus, couldn't really crack the lineup much. So to me, it's just, I don't know what to really expect from him. And do you see, have you seen ability where if he's coached a certain way or in the right environment, that he can actually improve a little more and flourish a little more?
Yeah. Yes, I would wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think in part as well this year, as many people are aware, the Blue Jackets were going to have an experienced head coach, and instead we get another first-year coach with Pascal Vincent after the whole Babcock thing. And so I think that may have some part to play in this, where there's been over like 60 different line combinations this year from the head coach, and I think he's still finding his footing, trying to figure out who's fitting where. And I think he just didn't know what to do with Peeke. I do think he's starting to play grittier as he keeps going. But yeah, that's really all I can think about with that. He's had some pretty good seasons. He's played full 82 game season before as well too. It's just recently the team. You're right. He's had a hard time cracking it, but
I
think that's kind of coaching.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe the coaching change, and the coach wants to go in maybe a little bit of a different style than what Peeke brings to the table. You mentioned some of those other guys, and another thing with coaching is a lot of times they want their own guys. Peeke was there before the coaching staff was there, so maybe he just kind of fell out of favor with the coaching staff, and they wanted to kind of go in a different direction, as far as the style of play and so forth. So. Hopefully when he gets to the Bruins, and he's with this culture and with their defensive system, maybe he'll fit in that a little bit better than he would have in Columbus, I think.
Yeah. And I do think just a little bit might be kind of who's in front of the net sometimes too, and how he's kind of running things on the ice as well.
Were you surprised, Lance, that the Blue Jackets didn't do more at the deadline? I mean, where's this team going? And they make this trade. They get Jakub Zboril. Zboril was a guy kind of like Peeke. Couldn't crack the lineup for ages. Last year, he played like 20-ish games, a lot of just scratches. Had some promise. He's a former first-round pick. They looked like he was going to really start cracking the lineup. He had an ACL injury. Then he had another sort of bad hit where he kind of took a step back again, then never saw the ice again on the NHL team. So you get Zboril. I don't know what kind of role, if you've heard anything about a role or a chance that he might get there. And then were you surprised that they didn't do more?
No. And the Blue Jackets just recently got rid of their longtime general manager for the last decade, Jarmo Kekalainen. And so the interim GM is the president of the Blue Jackets, John Davidson, former New York Ranger goalie. And he came out and said he doesn't want to make all these big moves and then get a GM in, and he's already made the moves that they should have been making. He wants them to be able to come in and make their own team and do that how they want to. So I'm not surprised. Jack Roslovic was one that went. He was the only pending UFA at the end of the season. No surprise. He was traded. Andrew Peeke, I was not surprised. He's a name that had been coming up throughout this year, especially with how much he was sitting on the bench. It felt like maybe these talks around the league may have been going on for longer. So maybe that was part of the lack of playing time, keeping him healthy. I can't say for 100% certainty. And you're right. He's very similar to Zboril. Not a first round pick, but he was picked 34th overall in the second round. And that was the year that, Austin Matthews, Line and PL Luc Dubois were picked 1, 2, 3. Former captain of Notre Dame. He's got some leadership skills. He knows what it takes to be on a championship team. But Zboril, I don't think is going to see the NHL ice here either. He's a very similar player to Peeke. I think that the Cleveland Monsters are doing well this year. It's the AHL affiliate for the Blue Jackets. They're doing very well. They're going to be in the playoffs. They have a chance to go for the cup, and I think Zboril is just a seasoned veteran that can help because the Blue Jackets are going to be calling up some of those younger defenders I mentioned earlier. So it's kind of where I think he fits.
Yeah. Well, Lance, we really appreciate you joining us on the pod, and we wish you luck. We'll keep an eye on the Columbus Blue Jackets information that you bring to InsideTheRink.com. And it's good to have you on, and maybe we'll have you on again down the road when something comes about.
Yeah, man. I appreciate y'all letting me or having me out here on the show too. It's always nice to, talking with other teams from the league.
Sure. All right, Lance. Thanks so much, bud.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot.
You too. All right. So they have